I told my closest friends about his worst days, the panic attacks that made him cancel rent meetings, the pills he used to sleep, the night he cried on our kitchen floor. People think I'm just a gossip, that I was cruel, but I did it because I was terrified of losing him and needed someone to see how hard I was trying. I'm not saying it was right, I'm saying I wasn't the only one who did damage. There's a detail I haven't confessed yet, one that reframes the whole thing. By sharing that story, I was hoping someone would force me to stay, someone would pull me back, because the idea of being the steady one all the time terrified me. I made him out to be broken, and I knew how that would make me look responsible, loyal, brave. The problem is, it wasn't just for comfort, it was for the thrill of control, the small shock of power in a relationship where I felt invisible. I'll lay out exactly what I revealed and what I hid, and then I'll tell you the thing that will change how you see this. He was late to everything in those months after he lost his job. I mean late in ways that made plans unravel, like walking away from the dinner table and not coming back, not because he didn't care, but because the weight of it seemed to press him down. It scared me because I was always early, prepared, ready, and I watched him fall apart in the quietest way, a tremor in his hands, a laugh that ended too fast, a gaze that would go suddenly blank. I told myself that telling people would help me help him. My therapist would have a field day with that, but the truth was that I felt so alone in the house with his silence that I needed a chorus. At first it felt simple, I needed support. I needed people to know how hard I was working. I needed an audience for the enormous kindness I was performing every day. My friend Anna had always been my emergency exit, the one I could call for a laugh when things felt too serious. I told her a version of what was happening, leaving out the details that felt like betrayal. I framed it as a story of rescue, me as the life raft. She nodded, and the warmth of being seen felt good. But I could tell even then that once you open that door, it's hard to close it again. I kept returning with updates like updates are currency. I also told Jake, his old roommate, because he knew the before times, the version of him that made me feel like I'd won the jackpot. I wanted him to understand how much I deserved recognition for the work. I wanted him to feel guilty for not checking in to help shoulder the load. It made sense to me. It still feels justified in my head, even as I write it down and hate myself for the clarity. At the grocery store, we ran into Maya, a coworker from his old job. She said it was good to see us out together, as if seeing us holding hands was a victory lap. I felt the urge to say something, to clarify, to turn it into a story. I wanted to say, see, I'm not just a lucky woman, I'm the engine, but I let it pass. That restraint felt like progress, even though it was just delay. The first crack was my sister. She asked me how I was doing in a tone that let me know she'd already heard from someone. I panicked and I said I'm okay. She gave me that look. Do you need help? I said no. Later, I sent her a message saying maybe I had vented, maybe I had, maybe I was already turning the story into a way to outsource my own anxiety. I deleted the message and sent a new one, I love him. It was easier to be brave in text. I began framing everything as prevention. If I told enough people, maybe he would have enough supports to not disappear again. If I told enough people, maybe he would feel embarrassed enough to get it together. If I told enough people, maybe I would be given permission to be furious when I needed to be. I told a story about him canceling plans with the neighbor after the doctor appointment. I told it like evidence, like a civil case. There's a line between protecting and controlling, and I did that little sideways step that makes you think you are protecting while you are doing the latter. I did it again and again. I told myself it was just venting, just community, just what friends do. It felt better anyway. The vent was a warm bath. Everyone told me I was strong. I didn't answer whether I actually wanted to be strong. I just wanted someone to carry me. I started taking the car to work because I said I needed to run errands after, which was true, and then I also took it because it was one fewer thing he had to worry about. It seemed thoughtful. It also meant he couldn't leave without me or talk to anyone without waiting, and I told myself that was a function of my thoughtfulness. I made myself the schedule, the person who knows where things need to be. It was easier to keep a good story when I had a grip on all the moving parts. I asked him if he had told anyone else because telling someone was good, and I didn't like that I had to be the voice. He said no. He said he needed time. I said it was important for the people close to him to know he was having a hard time. He said he was having a hard time in private, like it was something sacred. I told him he was doing damage. He said he was protecting something. I said that was cruel, to make me carry the secret and be the only one he confided in. I thought about saying that telling others would help, that the only path was out in the open through stories. I didn't say it. I said we should take walks. We did. He was quiet. I talked. I told Anna a thing I should not have told Anna, how he once told me I was too much. I said it like a joke, a punchline, a measure of how far we had come. It felt good to make that particular line mine, to take it back. But I also left the context behind. I didn't tell her it was a new phrase, something he said the night he couldn't sleep in a haze because my flood of trying had made him feel for a moment like he was drowning. I didn't tell her I apologized the next day. I let it be a mark against him in the gallery of our story. I needed that mark to be true so my page wasn't blank. When I asked him why he hadn't told his mother, he said he didn't want to be that son. I told him I didn't want to be that daughter-in-law either, the one who made the news arrive through the trickle of his failure. I told him I was in survival mode. He said it looked like control. We argued without saying the words we meant. He stopped answering the phone. I kept telling people what was happening because I didn't want to be alone with it. The first time someone questioned me, they didn't know they were questioning me. It was a small thing. I told my friend Sam that he was missing another dinner because he was on a new medication and it knocked him out. I said it like it was a medical fact. Sam nodded and said it makes sense, then asked if I was okay with this rhythm. I wanted to be scolded, to be told to put my foot down, to be given permission to demand something. Instead he said it was brave to be patient. I told him I was learning, that I was new to this. I realized it felt like a religion, patient, steady on my knees. But the kneeling was so I could rise. I told myself I was playing the long game. Jake texted me one night to ask if he had canceled plans again because Jake was trying to get a group together and he didn't want to do it if he was going to be out. I said yes, that he was having a hard time, that the meds were still settling. I said it gently and also a little coldly, like this is what you get for leaving the team. I told him to give him space. Jake said he would. I wanted him to push. I wanted someone to step into the room and make something happen that I couldn't. We had a day where it almost felt normal. He was texting emojis, the kind that were only in our private world. I posted a picture of us making coffee. I captioned it something earnest and soft. It felt like proof. I had proof I was still the person I had promised to be. But that feeling, that delicate victory, is always easy to lose. I knew that. I should have held it. I should have kept it close. I told Anna something else. I told her he had said he was going to look into medication on his own in private, like there was a community I was missing. She said it was a good sign. I said it felt like an escape. My own justifications started getting thinner, a cheap scarf on a winter night. I told myself that telling meant I trusted people, that it meant I had an ecosystem. I told myself I needed a witness. I told myself I didn't want to be the person who turns it all into a secret with no help at the end. I told myself my friends deserved to know because I deserved to be supported. I told myself I would never ever do the thing we all know someone who did, which is broadcast it like a fight. I told myself I was different. He started sleeping in the spare room. He said the bed was too hot and too bright. He said he felt like there was too much air. He said the comforter needed to be changed. We bought a new one. It didn't help. I told myself he was trying. I told myself it was small. I told myself it mattered. I told myself it didn't. I told my friends the new comforter, a humorless joke, and I waited for the ritual of reassurance. What I had begun to do, without even knowing, was to hold the narrative in my hands and shape it with my fingers, smoothing out the parts that made me look unkind and fanning the parts that made me look righteous. I told a few people he was handling it well. I told a few others he was gone. I said a phrase, like a spell, that I was learning how to love. I told myself people would remember how well I loved. I told myself I had earned that memory. There is a moment I keep returning to because I want to believe it is a turning point. I called Maya. I called her at his old job. I didn't say it was him. I said it was someone I loved, someone who used to work there, someone who needed help. I asked if she knew any groups. She said she did. I said I wasn't sure about him getting help from strangers. I wanted to be the help. I wanted the help to be me. I wanted everyone to see me. I didn't call the group. I told my mother. I told her that we were having a season. She said seasons pass, that they do, and I said I believed her. She said to be careful, and I bristled. She said take care of yourself, and I laughed. She said you don't look like yourself, and I wanted to say that maybe I had never looked like myself, that I had been playing a role. Instead, I said I'm fine. Every time I felt myself wobble, I asked for more proof. I asked him to tell someone else. I asked him to set a plan. I asked him to let someone else in. I asked him to let me in. He didn't. He kept the part he was willing to share with me so small that the rest of it became a shadow that followed me. I chased it. I chased it with words. I chased it with friends. I chased it with messages that were too long and too late. I chased it with pictures of us where I was smiling, a public record of private war. One night we fought, not loud, quiet. A quiet fight is the worst kind, the one where each word is a mark in the wood, a long scratch you will find years later and not remember how it got there. He said he was trying. I said trying wasn't enough. I said I was tired of being the only one trying. I said I was tired of him being tired all the time, even when I was tired. I said we had to change the shape of it. He said I had already changed the shape. He said it in a way that made me know he meant he didn't recognize me anymore. I told Anna about that fight. I told her how I had tried to be gentle and also firm, how I had held my ground. I told her what he said. She took my side. I didn't want her to. I wanted her to ask me if I had actually given him room. I told her that he had to be responsible. She agreed. I said I didn't know what to do. She said I had been the best part of his life, and I let that sentence fall into me like a stone, the part of me that always wanted a pedestal. I found myself telling Sam something I probably didn't need to tell him. I told him I had been there for him when he was scared once and it had been good and I wanted the good to count. He said I had always been good. I said I needed to be more than good. He said good was enough. I said I needed to be both seen and celebrated. He said it would come. It felt like I was asking for applause, a clap at the end of the act I had written. I had written the act about love. It had the right lines, the right tenderness, the right end of credits hush. But the story itself had gone off. I sent a message to a group chat that included a few people who knew us. I said I was okay. I said I was staying. I said I had been held. I said I loved him. It felt like posting as if the person I needed to convince was an audience. I told myself it was accountability, a vow. I told myself the vow would give me the strength to keep walking that hallway, the one where the walls pressed in. I made the vow a shield. I made the vow a rope. I wrapped it around me so tightly I forgot to ask him if he was okay with me wearing it in public. When my sister asked again, she didn't ask with her words. She asked with her silence and the look she gave me. I said I was fine. She said, be honest. I said I was being honest. She said I was not, and I was furious with her for being right. I wanted to tell her the worst parts. I wanted to tell her how I had been angry and not shown it, how I had smiled and let people think it was okay. I wanted to tell her he had said I was too much, not as a joke, but as a broken sentence. I didn't. I told her he was brave. She said I was telling a story. I told her I was done. We were both lying. The first small consequence I dismissed was a friend of his who stopped coming to the group events. He said he was busy. I said he would come back. I thought it was nothing. I thought it was just a pattern. I thought I had done something to keep that friend out by telling them what I had told, but I told myself the telling was careful. It was. It didn't feel like control. It felt like truth. But when I went to see them at the coffee shop, they were different. I could tell. They said they hoped things got easier. I said they were. I asked for advice. They said to trust myself. I wanted to say, tell me how, tell me I'm not losing my mind. I didn't. I told a neighbor I was fine, a little tired. They said they had a lot on their plate too. We talked about gardens. I avoided the feeling that I had been making his trouble public because talking to the neighbor felt like not talking about him. It was just talking about fall bulbs and worms, about whether to plant now or wait. It felt like I was doing something normal, something private that didn't require anyone else to sign a form. There is a moment where everything pivots and you don't notice. That was one. I moved money from our joint account to a separate one. I told him it was to pay for my car, for work, for a weekend trip I wanted to plan. I said I wanted to be responsible. He said okay. Later, I realized that moving the money was me making a plan for leaving. I didn't realize it then. I told myself it was practical. I told myself it was just numbers, and numbers don't lie. I told myself I had done it without malice, and I had, but I had also done it with a feeling I couldn't name. I can name it now. It's the feeling of holding an exit without opening the door. When the truth finally came out, it wasn't a scream. It was a quiet knock on my door. My friend who had been given the news by someone else called me and said I was on speaker. He said I had talked. I said yes. He said he was angry. I said I was scared. He said he had been afraid I would be afraid. I said it was complicated. He said it was not this part. He said he had trusted me. I said I had trusted myself. I said I had tried. He said to stop. He said to stop telling people. I said I had already. He said I was wrong. I said I had said it as a small way to get help. He said I had said it as a way to make him small. I called my mother. I told her someone was angry with me. She asked me to tell her what I had done. I said I had told friends about him in a way that made him into a story and made me into the person who carries the story. I said they asked me and I answered. I said it was what friends do. I said I had tried to make the story not cruel. I said I had been careful. She said care and control are cousins and sometimes they look the same. I wanted to say that I was a bad person for the first time, not in a way that made it interesting, but in a way that made my hands shake. I tried to get a handle on it by doing what I had done in the beginning and again, and I reached out to Anna and Sam and Jake. I reached out and asked them to meet and to tell me what I had said and how they had felt. I did that so I could be accountable, but I also did that because I wanted to know if the word I had chosen was the right word, if the story had the right cadence, if I had managed to present myself as a victim and not an aggressor. That is not accountability. That is surgery on a mirror. He listened. He listened until he didn't. When he finally did something, it was like a door slamming. He had been keeping the things that mattered to him in a drawer for a long time, and he opened the drawer and he took it all out and he spread it on the table. He told a few of his friends the things I had said. He did it in a way that made them stare and then feel like they were looking at me with a new kind of light. He didn't scream my name. He told them what had been said about him. He said it in that flat voice. He said he was done. He said he had been there when I told him he had to tell people and he had not, and then I had told them. He said he had asked me to stop and I had not. He said he was leaving. I called him. I said I was sorry. He said sorry doesn't fix the thing. I said I needed him. He said he had been a person I could use. I said I had loved him. He said love doesn't make control less control. I said I had never wanted to make him small. He said every time I told someone how small he was, I made him smaller. I wanted to say you did say I was too much. Do you remember that? Do you remember the word too? And I didn't because even then I knew that his word was in his room and mine was in the crowd. It felt sudden because I was watching a movie and I had been an actor and the cut had been made and the frame shifted. He moved his things in one day. He had been stacking the boxes for weeks and I thought they were for storage. He had been folding the clothes the way you fold when you know it's a goodbye, even if you don't say it out loud. He did not want a scene, he did not want help, he did not want me to hold his backpack. He said it was all right. He said it wasn't my fault. He said it had been though, and he knew he was saying it in the voice that would last longer than mine. The woman at the coffee shop asked how I was. I said I was okay. She looked at me like I had said I was beautiful when I had just cried all morning. She said take care. I said I would. I posted a thing on social media that said nothing at all. I said be gentle. I was not gentle. I had never been gentle with his name. I had been the person who made a saint of myself by carving him into a villain in the smallest way. I had been careful. I had also been cruel. He said I had told people he was weak, and I had said it to make my strength show. He said I had done it to give myself a name. He said he was a man who had his time, and he had wanted it to be mine, and I had decided it was a thing to be passed around like a plate. I wanted to say it was a plate because we were hungry, not because it was food. I said nothing. There are moments when you finally realize you do not have a good answer and you stop answering. The part I have been hiding is the worst part, and the part I was trying to protect, not him, but me. The worst part is that I told the group chat things I never should have told them, including that he had once, in a moment when I was being too much and he was tired and we had not slept and he was scared, that he had reached for a bottle of pills and told me to stop talking. The worst part is that I did not tell anyone that he set them down, that he put them away, that he said he was sorry. The worst part is that I took the part where he almost fell and I placed it in the room and I let people stand in it and they all looked at him. There's a second worst part. I had already made a plan. I had already told myself I was going to tell him I needed a break. I had already made a calendar in my head. I had already moved the money. I had already looked up apartments. I had already asked my friend if we could be roommates. I had already written an email to the landlord. I had already made a different life. And I had also told everyone that I was staying and that I loved him and that I was there. The worst part is that I told them the second part and I had been making the first part. The worst part is that I would have used his crisis as the line to leave. I would have used the story to be a person who stayed and then I would have left anyway. The worst part is that when he left, I felt like he was the one who was wrong. I felt it with my whole body. I wanted to be exonerated, not accountable. I did not know how to separate the two. My sister came to my house. She stood in the kitchen and she said, I heard. I said I was afraid. She said, tell me what you did. I said I told people. She said, tell me what you did. I said I made a plan. She said, and he didn't know. I said no. She said you were going to leave him. I said I was going to say I needed a break. She said you were going to leave him. I said yes. She said you were going to use this to leave him. I said I was scared. She said you were wrong. Anna stopped talking to me. She said it wasn't personal. She said I had done something that made me unsafe for her to be friends with. She said I had used her. I said I had trusted her. She said I had asked for her to carry something that was not hers. She said she had carried it and it had hurt her. I said I was sorry. She said sorry doesn't bring it back. She said she couldn't be my witness anymore. I said I needed my witness. She said you killed the witness. I cried. She said I am sorry for the part that happened to me. I said I was sorry too. We did not hug. Jake didn't respond. He had been angry in a way that is silent and complete. I sent him messages like a prayer. I said I know. I said I understand. I said I am wrong. I said please. He never said anything back. I posted a story about forgiveness. I said I believed in it. I knew I didn't. I wanted to believe in it though. I needed it. I needed a system that could clean the air. Maya asked me if I wanted to talk. I said no. She said I knew what she thought. I said I was a person who had tried. She said I had tried to be the only person who tried and it had made me dangerous. I said I had not. She said I had been loud. She said you told and you are loud. I said I did not tell the things that were not mine to tell. She said you told the things that were not yours to tell, and you told them with the tone that made people nod. I wanted to argue. I didn't. He sent me a message once more. He said, I know you have never thought of yourself as a cruel person. I said, I know. He said, I don't know you. He said it without anger. He said it like the end of a book. I said, I don't know you either, not the you I told people about. I wanted to say that I had loved you. I didn't. A friend sent me a link to something that said, sometimes you leave to stay. I read it and I laughed. I laughed so hard I cried. I read the part where it said you need to leave to be yourself. I read it and I thought of how I had used the story to be myself. I had been myself. That was not the problem. The problem was that I had used him to be myself. The problem was that I had told people how to see me. The problem was that I had made a theater. I have been sitting at my kitchen table at night and I am asking myself whether I am a monster or a person who did a bad thing. I have been the kind of person who likes to be brave. I have been the kind of person who is good at being brave. That does not stop me from being dangerous. I have been the kind of person who is telling you the truth now. I have been the kind of person who had it all in my hands and let it fall. I do not have a good ending for you. I have an ending that feels like a door. What I have learned is that love is a room you build, and you can only invite people in after you finish painting. I painted a room with the colors of his weakness. I invited them in. I don't know how to stop painting. I don't know how to make the room nice again. I have been trying to think of a way to live after this. I have been trying to imagine not needing an audience. I have been trying to imagine a time when I can say his name without saying it like a proof. I am telling you this story now because I looked at the people I had told and I watched them move. I watched Anna walk down the street in another city and I felt her not with me, and I realized I was telling a story of rescue and I had been the storm. I'm telling you this because I found a message in my phone, and it was the one he sent to his friends, and I realized I had never been the person he deserved, and I had never been the person I thought I was. I'm telling you this because I need to be the one who says it. I'm telling you this because I am telling you. I do not know if I am a person who will do it again. I do not know if I will ever learn to be quiet about other people. I do not know if I am going to stop and never tell anyone anything again. I have been a person who believes in a name. I have been a person who believes in a picture. I have been a person who believes in a story. I don't know how to live without those three things. I know I have to try. I am aware that when you read this you will think she made herself. You will think she was cruel. You will think she deserves it. I am aware that the worst part is that I would have used the story to leave him and I did not. I am aware that the worst part is that I did not tell you that the worst part was to come. I am aware that the second worst part is that when he left I felt like the injured one. I am aware that all of that is true. If you want to say something to me you can. If you want to tell me how wrong I was you can. If you want to say you are not surprised you can. If you want to say you feel for me you can. I can't promise to answer. I can promise to hear it. I don't know if that is enough. I don't know if the act of hearing makes it different from the act of telling. I don't know. I know this. I can't make this neat. I can't make it into a lesson. I can't make it into a beginning. I can't make it into a final word. It is a door. I closed it. I may have closed it on myself.